Alright, so the top 5 combat pals in Tides of Terraria in no particular order. We're going to be starting with Selyne, just because of this doubles the element bonus on neutral and dark, which really lets you chunk down big bosses with Holy Burst, and to some extent Star Mine and Airblade. Now, it was pretty hard to just choose 5 pals. I'm pretty happy with my choices, some honorable mentions being left out, like utility pals like Gale Claw and Gobfin, and Orsirk and Bastig also just didn't make it, so they're worth mentioning. But they just didn't stand out quite as much as something like Selyne, which is just absolutely broken against big pals. Is pretty versatile as well. You can choose to have one Selyne and just spamming like Airblade, Dark Wisp also gets overlooked a little bit, double damage on Dark Wisp, and Holy Burst with 4 Ribbonies or something like that. But you can also do something like this, where you swap between 5 of them, and you let the pal use Holy Burst, and then you mount up before Holy Burst explodes. You get the 100 element bonus there, so that way you can sort of spam out 10 double damage Holy Bursts. Or it's not, we'll call it double damage. It's not true double damage. It's 100% element bonus to the Selyne. So overall, just a super strong pals in these fights, and not bad against smaller targets. Like, it does work, especially if you mount up and do the Dark Wisp and some off-center Holy Burst there as well. But against something like Marcus, Victor, Blasphemous Rio, even like Jet Dragon Alpha bosses, stuff like that, it is the highest DPS pal in the game. It can struggle a bit with survivability. It has a good hitbox, like it automatically dodges a lot of attacks with just this floating hitbox, but then it is also part dark, so it does take that bonus damage against Dragon, which has the Beam Slicers, the Meteor Rains, a lot of Dragon attacks to chunk on it. But I feel like, especially with the speed buff that it got in Tides of Terraria, it does really shine now in these sort of fights. So you can sort of see in this fight, here I'm doing the 5 Selyne, swapping between them. We got a lot of buffs for Selyne as well, just in terms of using stuff like the attack whistles, the neutral whistle, although it doesn't scale that well. You could potentially add some mega boost guns to it. So just in terms of pal damage, I think it's probably the one with the highest peak. It's just very good against those sort of big bosses. So just the new whistles here, we got the mega boost gun as well. Now these neutral whistles don't scale super well when you're mounted up, because they have diminishing returns together with the saddle bonus, so they're all just these element bonuses that don't scale super well, and you can't actually see it in the pal's stat page. Like, if we look at Selyne now, let's just double that roughly. We can roughly double that for the saddle effect, so it becomes a very strong pal with the 2 strongest attacks in Holy Burst and Airblade. And then don't sleep on Dark Wisp as well. It does get overlooked a little bit that Selyne is also this part dark pal. Decent for Dark Wisp, kind of bad for resisting dragon attacks. Like, I'd rather be weak to dark than to dragon, I feel. And then the build itself, just no Serenity when you're doing the power swapping thing with 5 pals. You could add Serenity if you're just using one of them. So pretty versatile pal at that. Now let's move on to Necromus. So I don't have a huge deal to show with Necromus. It's mainly just this build, the Rockburst build, which is overall one of the strongest builds in the game. This is just one of the strongest pals for using it. So it has a lot of stuff going for it. It has the Twin Spears, just a super good skill, also makes the pal go up close. So it's high DPS and moves the pal closer. Necromus part dark, so no minimum range on the basic filler attack. And then the stats, the hitbox, it's very bulky. So I gave it 5 in attack, just great attack stat. You can also do the saddle up thing, so the partner skill in itself, just running faster, isn't great, but being able to do 2 rock bursts is very good. So I feel like it fits this role of having a saddle, being dark or electric for the staying close thing, being decently bulky, like small hitbox. Being part dark again isn't great, so that's a little bit of a downside. Dark is just not an overall great element to be. But the rest of it is just great for all of these like aspects together with the Rockburst build. Just working very well. Like going close, not jumping backwards, high attack damage. And then you could potentially run like 5 Cruadier Knots and swap between them instead. But Necromus is strong enough that you could run like Necromus and 5 Gobfins if you want to do player attack as well. And then you just sort of swap between the attacks as you like. So for the build, Vampiric is optional, depends on what you like really against tower bosses. Otherwise just Demon God, Legend, Serenity, potentially Musclehead. Flame Funnel works well, it's just that it goes before Rockburst. If you want to use the Rockburst build, you might want to swap away for attacks that go before Rockburst. But then again, he tends to stay pretty close, so it doesn't really matter, even with Twin Spears or something like that. So pretty versatile pal as well. You don't have to do the Rock Burst build. It's just a great attacking pal, great stats, great hitbox, and really good exclusive attack as well. Just suffers against a couple of hitboxes where he tends to just go through them, so skip Twin Spears against some bosses. For the third pal, we're going to be looking at Neptilius. I think this is the only Tides of Terraria pal that made it into the top 5. I think we're representing most of the other expansions somewhat, or DLCs, or whatever you want to call them really. Let's just call them update patches for now. So Neptilius, great stats, or rather great attack stat. Not super bulky and quite big, but being part water right now is very important against raid bosses. It doesn't really need stars either, so if you look at the pals we showed already, Necromus you don't really need stars, like condensing, it's good enough. Selyne you really want stars for the saddle effect. Neptilius again you don't really need stars, it's just a strong stat stick on its own. So 5 in attack, 3 in bulk, 5 in exclusive attack, Dallasonic Laser, just extremely good, covers a large area, can take out a lot of enemies. Does have a little bit of a downside in a really long animation time, so if you're running like Dallasonic Laser Holy Burst, you won't see Holy Burst pop off in the first couple seconds of a fight, which can be a little bit negative. But just overall being water right now is very important, mainly against like Rio and Scene Lord with the pal pods and how they function with burning, and water and fire pals just being king there. And then Neptilius, just overall a great combat pal, let's just call it that. It's great against the tower bosses, it's great against the raid bosses with just like the stats, the element and the exclusive skill. The partner skill I would, like, it seems a little bit broken or something. It was only hitting for like 8 power, the thing that where you shoots at the same time it uses the spears while it's a party pal. And then just being a swimming mount, like, I gave it 1 extra, it would have been a 1, but you can do the double attacks with the saddle effect. So any pal that does have a saddle get a little bit of a benefit from just, you know, being able to do 2 rock bursts or 2 holy burst or whatever attack you want to spam really. They get a little bit of a benefit, but otherwise the partner skill is kinda useless in a fight like this. Overall it's kinda like Necromus, where you go, you catch yourself this legendary pal, and then you got a strong combat pal straight off the bat. You can give it some souls and some skill fruits, but if you like want to avoid some breeding and stuff like that, you have that as an option. And then water, just pretty strong element overall with Hydrosticer, Curtain Splash, and then that exclusive attack. So you have some couple of different builds you can go as well in passive skills and active skills. I got my raid army here with Holy Burst, Dallasonic Laser, Airblade. Could potentially swap Dallasonic Laser for something else. Also able to pull off some Lunker builds. Not a great build overall, but being able to swap something like Legend for Lunker if you're planning on just using water or ice attacks is fine. And then it also works as a really good rescue pal, worth mentioning as well. Now we're moving on to Knocklem. So Knocklem has been a powerhouse of the game for a very long time. This time I'm mixing it with 3 Turtical Terras, just trying that out with Meteor Rain to wipe out these ads at the start. So Knocklem, kind of versatile as well in that you can choose if you want to run 1 Knocklem or 2 Knocklems for the 100% uptime on the partner skill, which gives it 300% or something, or is it 200%? Just defense and attack. So while the partner skill is active, it hits really hard, it has very high defense, and then if you put Vampiric on it at the same time, you can just swap between 2 Knocklems and maintain that like boosted stats momentum or whatever you want to call it for 100% of the fight. So the exclusive attack is pretty bad, but let's call the attack in the bulk. Let's just assume we're using the partner skill. The stats aren't great on it without the partner skill, but then with the partner skill it is the strongest overall stat pal in the game. And then it just heals itself with Vampiric. So what we're doing right here is Björn and Bastigord, just 2 Knocklems and 3 boosters, and seeing if they can solo it down, which we already know they can because we did it in Faybreak. We're testing how much stronger they have become. But overall, Knocklem, also one of those pals you really want to condense just for the partner skill effect. That's the thing you want to carry you. And here we're using no player damage, but you could also just swap the Turticles or the Doomids or whatever for 3 Gobfins, and then have your Terra Prisma, your Vortex Speeder, your Multi-Guided, whatever, and fight alongside your Knocklem. So, like, if you compare it, like you're fighting Saya and Selyne, just adding 1 Knocklem and 4 Gobfins seems to do better than actually having the Chillet for the super effective, just because it fights alongside you and does damage on its own. So if you saw the time there, I think it was just over 4 minutes. We're gonna compare it now back when I did this during Fabric actually, just to see here that the DPS, it's the new attack whistles. I was running like a fire whistle, the attack whistle, we were running the mega boost gun, and just that kind of stuff alone, together with the 5 levels we gained as well, we're now dealing more than double DPS. So the Fabric Knocklem was able to do this in almost the full 10 minutes, while the Tides Knocklem was able to do it in about 4 minutes. So just worth comparing that. The Tides of Terraria did buff Pal's DPS quite a bit with the whistles and stuff. It just also gave us the Terra Prisma. So it buffed Pal's, but it also made the Gobfin build like a lot stronger on its own. So this is an old video as well, just to show what Knocklem used to be able to do. This was when level 55 was the highest level. So you were able to solo Ultra Rio back then with just a Knocklem. And since then it's gotten like 10 levels, it's gotten the whistles, some better souls I believe. We got the trust system as well, which seems to work pretty well with Knocklem. So just the stats here when you do have that partner skill activated. Just a bunch of attack stat as well. And this one is running Vampiric. You could, if you don't see the Knocklem dying, it mainly needs Vampiric against something like Hard Mode Bjorn. Against the others you can get away with just a healing potion and running like Musclehead instead. And then the attacks, just put on whatever is strongest. It can use the Rock Burst build pretty well, since you're sending it out every now and then. It just does have a little bit of downsides with being like a ground element pal. It uses the ground filler, it does a little jump back animation before Rock Burst maybe. And then you could also just run the Gobfins instead of a ground booster. And then we're going to be looking at Felbat, and I want to mention Lavander, because they're pretty much the same pal to me. You don't really care about the stats. What you care about is this healing effect. So this is a sped up chopper fight, just showing how much healing you get when you're fighting the chopper. So if the player is the only one dealing damage, you're healing 9%, and it has a little bit over 1 million health. You're healing around 116,000 HP. So you're healing your own health many times over, just shooting at the chopper like this, healing continuously. So that is why I rank Felbat as the top 5, even if you can see the attack is pretty bad, it has pretty bad bulk on its own, no exclusive attack to speak of, but just this 5-star partner skill, which is this 9% healing you do at 4 stars. So it's a bit mixed, you don't need stars, it's fine at 1 star or 0 stars for the healing for the player, but then it can be a little bit squishy on its own. So if you are using the Felbat build, for the most part you will be targeted, like tower bosses will target you because you're doing the most damage. Raid bosses, this is Rio here by the way, just testing the healing again. In the bottom left you can see Terra Prisma plus multi-guided there. And here showing the healing effect against Bjorn. This is like the highest DPS setup for the heal, so you can see how much you heal with swapping between 2 overheat rifles and just the Terra Prisma doing its thing. The Terra Prisma heal isn't amazing, but you can see as soon as you start shooting with the overheat rifle, you are healing pretty much to max. So just overall great pal, but you can swap between like Felbat and Lavander as you like. They do pretty much the same thing. Raid bosses won't target them anyway, but Felbat is overall the stronger of the two if you don't care about the dark element it has being weak to dragon. So you could breed it for Meteor Rain, then it works great on the oil rig and stuff like that. Vanguard, not totally necessary, but you don't have a lot else going on it. So overall the build is pretty versatile here as well, doesn't matter a whole lot. But that's it for this video, thanks for watching.